Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, the mind-body spirit connection, spiritual magic, and how to best enjoy this miraculous, mystical, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I am located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Orlina, and I am a transformational life coach, and I'm in San Diego, California.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode. We do want to let you know right at the top here that we often mention the names Abraham and Esther Hicks and Abraham-Hicks. If you're not familiar with those names, Esther Hicks is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can search for Abraham or Esther Hicks on your internet, web browser, or YouTube, where we also are. Or you can go to their website for more information, Abraham-Hicks, HICKS.com. Each week we start a discussion from a different jumping off point, and this week's jumping off point came from something that came out of the end of last week's episode, as it often does these days. But you, towards the end of last week's episode, Stephanie, you were talking about how we can think of things as being hard when they don't really necessarily, like, understanding like that's to a certain extent a judgment of our mind. It's not necessarily true or reality. My sister Kelly, who's Dr. Kelly Worster, she's a chiropractor.
And widely accepted, I will say.
What's that?
And it's widely accepted.
Yes. Oh yeah, that things are hard. Certain things are hard. Yeah, 100%. I always, as a musician, I was like, it's funny because people will say like, oh, becoming a musician, man, if you want to really be successful professionally, that must be really hard. And I always go back to this band called Panic at the Disco that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't have an opinion either way of them, but I'm not a huge fan of them. But I did hear the story is there was a band called Fall Out Boy. There was a very hugely successful rock band that came to prominence in the 90s. And I guess, yeah, late 90s, early 2000s, I guess, mid 90s. Anyway, they're from Chicago, and they went to Panic at the Disco's first show ever, and they loved them. So they signed them to a huge record deal, and Panic at the Disco started touring the country to huge crowds like immediately.
Oh, wow.
Anytime somebody says, wow, being a professional musician, oh, that must be a hard struggle. I was like, yeah, tell that to the folks in Panic at the Disco who have never had to do anything at all other than just show up and play to massive crowds.
So they obviously had no resistance or very little. And most of the other artists and musicians, actors, all of them, right?
Mhm.
Fill in the blanks, have more resistance
Yes.
than allowing.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why it takes so long.
Side thing to that story, one member of Panic at the Disco did have resistance, and he quit. Right after that show. When they got the record deal, he was like, oh, I didn't sign up for that.
Wow. Yeah, that happens, right?
It does. It really does. But I was also thinking my sister, Dr. Kelly Worster, chiropractor, has been on the show many times and is a
Hi,
loyal listener and viewer. She and I, at one point, we identified, this is many years ago, but we were talking about our family, and we love our family. God bless them all. But and how we were raised, and we were just noticing that members of our family, both in our memory and in current times, a lot of members in our family said the word hard a lot.
Kelly.
And we started just picking up on it, like, wow, they say it a lot. Like, that's really weird. And then we started, as soon as we noticed that, we noticed that she and I used it a lot. Like, we both used it a lot. Like, when we would just call to catch up with each other, be like, hey, how was your week? And she'd be like, well, it's okay, but things are really hard, and I would do the same thing. And so as soon as we had awareness on that, we just started, we poked fun at it for a while, because we would still, like, even though we were aware of it and trying to avoid using that word, like, we would still come to points in our stories like, yeah, and then it was at this thing and it was really challenging. But what we realized is it wasn't just that we're using that word, it's that there was this whole thing that went along with using the word, which was a law of attraction thing or art of allowing thing, which is we are creating the expectation that this thing that we're talking about either is difficult or will be difficult, or we're telling each other about something that happened last week. It was difficult last week. If it ever happens again, it's going to be that level of difficult. And we just sort of realized, like, oh, we're walking around saying that our lives are hard and are going to continue to be hard.
Yeah.
And I had
Creating the story, therefore we live it.
like that's a conscious decision that we are like projecting that onto our reality at all times. So we just started practicing, and I barely say that word anymore. And like when
Oh,
someone else
nice.
says it, it's always
Do you
like,
flinch?
yeah, I'm always like, ah, like okay. But my friend Dave Johnson from I went to acting school years ago in Ohio, and Dave and I were classmates, and he was our class clown, and he's hilarious. Um, but he said if he has these bits sometimes, which are partly him just being funny, but they're also like he's very curious about life and the way things work. We've had discussions about the law of attraction and stuff, and there was one time where anytime somebody would tell him that something was hard, was going to be hard, or was going to be difficult, he would just immediately respond with, "Or it might just be totally easy."
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about him. Yeah, I love that one.
But even before that was long before when he was doing that around campus. That was long before I knew about the law of attraction or Abraham or any of the secret or any of that stuff. And I was amazed at like, oh yeah, like it's because it sort of called attention to this, like, oh yeah, we're deciding. It's not, and again, like Abraham will say, like there are facts, like we can bring facts in it. Well, I did it last year and it was hard. So that's a fact. And I'm applying that fact to my analysis of the future,
Yeah. Yep.
So it is fact, but it's also like, oh, but we're sort of expecting it to be hard, and like the fact that it was hard a year ago doesn't necessarily mean anything about how it's going to be next year. Like that this class was hard, this other class might not be hard. It might be really easy. Like, and so I mean, for me, that those two experiences have kind of shown me, like, yeah, like don't. But I'll even be talking to you on the phone, and I'll be, you'll ask me something, and I'll start out positive, and then you'll say, "Oh, how's work going?" or something, my day job, and I'll be like, "Oh, we're doing this thing, and it's really," and I'm always like, "Oh man, I'm about."
I know. Well, it comes back to because it's human nature,
yeah. But I literally will be aware, like I'm about to tell Stephanie how the next 2 months of my life at my day job are going to be really hard. What just flows out of me sometimes, but it's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you say like, "Oh, I'm going to do this thing"? Well, you have a total power to decide whether it's going to be hard or easy. What do you think it should be? Oh, it's going to be really hard. I'm just deciding. Like why would you?
You said it's so easy, and it reminded me the street over from us, there is a car that the gentleman no longer drives, and so it's parked on his property, and there's grass growing underneath it and around it, and Nibbles likes to stop there, and the license plate says easy did it. So easy, DID it. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, I just read it over and over again, and I just laughed, and I took a picture of it, and I'm like, and so when you said it's so easy, I thought of easy did it, because it's so the art of allowing. Like easy did it. Like, no, I don't have to work hard. That is a fallacy. And it's just like, just chill. It's done.
I think too, it's funny too. Like I've had so much experience in the office, corporate world in America over the course of my adult years, and it's so funny because certain people that work in that environment they're just all resistance, right? Like they'll start, maybe they're managing a project with a bunch of people on their team to do this project, and like they have the first meeting about the project, and you can just, like, if I'm sitting in that room, I can just feel the resistance. So like, this is going to be hard. This is going to require all of you to really dig in, whatever. And the funny thing is like on the outside, everybody always goes, "Oh yeah, like I really dig Sally. She's really dedicated." On the inside, like in the water cooler, everybody's like, "Oh God, this is going to be a nightmare." Like I can't, because nobody likes that. Like people like to be inspired.
Oh, we love it.
People like to be challenged in the sense of I think it's fulfilling as a human being to do something that you're going to apply the skills, the knowledge, the wisdom you have to that situation and see if you can accomplish something great. Like I think most humans are up for that. But if somebody's telling you like, "Oh, this is going to be really hard, and right, I'm going to be on you, and I'm going to, if you drop the ball, I'm going to be right on you, so we don't have any missteps or whatever," it's like everybody hates that. Like the brutal truth is everybody freaking hates that. We pay outward homage. So like, oh yes, they're a real great manager. They get results, whatever. But like again at the water cooler, it's like, oh God, I hope I never have to work on the project with Sally again, because nobody likes that negative energy all the time. It's much better to. I mean, it's more enjoyable to, and that doesn't, again, it doesn't mean we don't point out things that are off, or, like things that we couldn't have foreseen that we have to adjust for. But you can do that with like a positive mindset. You don't have
Yeah.
to put it like, oh my God, you don't have to talk like, oh God, like what's good. I mean, the number of times in the office world I've heard like somebody say like, something like, oh, well, I can't wait to see what goes wrong today. Literally, like,
Ouch. Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
you are determining the next 8 hours will be to your dissatisfaction. Like
You
that's all.
know, you brought something up right now, reminded me of this experience that I had, and I wanted to share it here because a few weeks ago, I was handling my mom's affairs, and it was time consuming, and I was multitasking while I would be on hold for, phone calls. And was finally got through to this one organization, and this woman was trying to identify that I can, be of service for my mom. Like I'm a power of attorney. And I said, yes, I am power of attorney. I've spoken to other people. And she's like, well, I can't find you. You're not here. And I'm like, ma'am. And so we went back and forth, and she goes, well, let me look again, and we're going back and forth. And I could have gotten all irate and I even at one point was like, okay, Steph, like, calm down. It's okay. And I said, can I speak? Do you have a manager? I'd like to speak to you, man. She goes, well, if, I can't find it and they're not going to be able to help you either, and you're not going to blah, 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 blah. And then finally, I just stayed at it, and I stayed calm, even though I was irritated, and I was very kind and respectful to this woman. And then finally, she was able to find that I did have power of attorney, and she apologized profusely. And I said, I don't remember her name. And I said, so-and-so, I go, it's okay. I go, thank you. I appreciate it. And I was just able to move on. And then, and she said, and if you reach someone again, please tell them this is how I found it. She goes, they have to click the second page, and there you are. And so I go, thank you. Because I was like, I want to know this? Like, tell me. But that call, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate that we've all had calls like that where it's just like, and we think getting mad is going to solve it. But I also understood that one, I wasn't going to get anywhere with that, but I even started doubting myself. So do I have the power of attorney on this account? I think I do. Did the other people just pass me through? So I still even got to the point where I was doubting myself, but just keeping my calm and cool. And then when God bless her, she admitted she had made a mistake. Like, here I found it. And then just being kind and loving to her. And it was a really wonderful experience. I'm like, it's okay. I've made mistakes too. Like, it happens. It's okay. But
I worked in customer service for many years, really intense direct customer service, and both as a deliverer of customer service direct and also as a supervisor of other people who are doing it. And it's just sort of like, so I saw from both from a personal angle and also as like the supervisor, people dealing with it. I saw a lot of really like awful, nasty, like customer versus, customer service rep interactions that went horribly wrong. And it's sort of like, yeah, like there's a way, because I think some people think, and I fall into this too, that if you're going to treat people with kindness all the time, it means you're going to be like what do you call it? Like a doormat. People are going to walk all over you. And I think it's one of these things. It's like, you can do both. You can be kind and healthily assertive.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I heard in your story. Like you were healthily assertive. Like you were just persistent, and you weren't being rude, and you weren't being a jerk, and you weren't being mean, but you were just saying, yeah, I really need to get this resolved, and like, and the kindness was genuine. It wasn't affected. It wasn't fake. It was like, it was genuine. And I feel like so many times when I see a bad customer service experience, it's like once the customer ticks off the
Oh, forget about it.
or whatever, it's like it's over
It's a
because
shit show.
they're both into their emotional states. They're
Tit
both
for tat.
in this defensive enemy versus enemy thing, and it's like number one, most of the times they're both high on adrenaline, they're not thinking clearly, neither one of them is, and it's usually like a very complicated issue that needs a lot of like clear thinking, and like neither person has it at that point. But it's also just that like there's a human thing that happens where like the front desk person is just going to dig in their heels. Like after a while, they're just, it's going to get very like caveman cavewoman times, like you're a threat to me, I'm just going to defend myself. And it's not about,
Yeah,
I don't care
yeah,
what you want anymore, I don't care if you
yeah,
did pay for the
yeah,
thing, I don't care.
yeah.
And it's one of those things of like, yeah, if you can, that's the thing, like, you know, because one of the things we say about that is like, oh, this person at the front desk gave me a hard time. There's that word again, like, oh, they gave me a hard time. Oh, I'm going to give them a hard time. You know, it's like you can hear that word. It's like, oh, this is not going to.
And it's really a choice, because I could have gone either way, but
Yeah.
I didn't. And I think that's one of the things, like I've done a lot of personal work on myself. And I also feel like this art of allowing, practicing this stuff has just given me so much power that, what's the saying, you can get more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. Like I just feel like that's so true. Like I'm not going to allow someone to walk over me, but at the same time, like you said, hold my ground
Yeah.
and know what I want,
Yeah.
and just and keep, persevere. I wasn't gonna, because I'd been on the call for a long time, so I was like, there was no way I was hanging up before. And I could have, and it was just like, no. But I really am so thankful for all the work that I've done, and the law of attraction, and knowing how to work with that, with the art of allowing, because it makes life so much easier. Life is so much better. I am so thankful to Abraham and Jerry and Esther and Rhonda Burns, because that's how I found out about all of this and met Jerry and Esther, and then my friend Nora, because it has been life-changing. Like, holy smokes. That's why I love coaching it, because so many people don't know. That's why I love doing the podcast with you. So many people don't know. And it's like, let me connect you to your innate power, because you will be a badass.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's humbling whenever I can look back and sit and see like an episode where like I, you know, expected something to be hard and then it was hard, you know, and it's like, oh man, I know better, you know, like and it's what we talked about before, just like it's just going to be a constant retraining of my mind of like, oh, it doesn't have to be, oh wait, it doesn't have to be hard, you know. And I like, I think you, Abraham does this, I think I've heard you say it a lot too. It's like, if I am firmly in a belief that something's going to be hard, it's probably not the best thing to try to convince myself immediately that it's going to be super easy.
No.
Like cracking the door open a little bit thing where,
Yeah.
well, maybe it won't be that hard, you know.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah. That's considered softening the resistance.
Yeah, like maybe it'll be easier than last time. Maybe it'll be a little easier than I think it'll be, you know, or I thought it'd be before, you know. And just that alone, like, just starts moving the needle towards like
Mm.
getting to be easier and everything. And I
Well,
forget
like,
sometimes.
and I could feel it. We were talking about that, I think, in the last few episodes, about how the way you say things, and just your body language, I can feel it, and I know you can, of like, that resistance, where allowing, oh, maybe it'll be a little bit better this time. Maybe it won't be quite so bad. Like, just energetically, I can feel it, and it feels so much better. The art of allowing and the softening of the resistance feels so much better than the like, sugar. I don't want to do that, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people, you know, it's funny too because like you know, I try to work on myself and not judge or fix other people. And I'm not a coach, so I don't even get to coach people unless they ask me, which doesn't happen very often. But yeah, man, it's like there's some. I mean, sometimes I do bump into people or I see them in videos or whatever. Um, you know, where it's like somebody's like angry about something, and I can feel like they're married to the anger. You know what I mean? Like they're married to the resistance. Like they're upset about something, but it's like I can almost predict like you're not going to get what you want because you're so angry about it and you're so convinced that this thing is wrong that you're just going to keep attracting the wrong. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah, yeah.
this has been terrible forever, and it's you know, we got to do something about it. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to get you there. Like there's got to be some sort of you got to find some path of ease,
Mm.
in order to allow things in. Like if you're all anger and you're all like, "Arr, arr, arr," like that's literally like the universe. What the law of attraction responds to is what you're giving out.
It's
So if
like literally bouncing right off your, all the good is bouncing right off of that energy.
the universe, law of attraction is like things are hard, things will be hard, things will be hard, and it seems like, and so many people, and I did this for a long time. Like I would see myself as a victim, like this is so hard, and I don't understand why life is so hard, and it's like now I see like, oh, that's a belief, that's an expectation. I'm doing that. That's not
Yeah.
some
Ouch.
universe or
Mm.
God or whatever. And I
Mm.
think the really good thing about that, one thing I want to mention real quick before we close, is that it really can be like if I just take care of my vibration, if I just think good thoughts that make me happy as often as possible, if I do the things that help me feel good as often as possible, like I can defy things that affect a group like nobody's business. And it's weird. I've had this since I've learned about the art of allowing. This has happened to me in some of my corporate day jobs where like everyone in a group that we're working on some project together is convinced that it's going to be hard. And I mean, and granted, full disclosure, there'll be certain times where I'm right with them and
Oh
I'm
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
hitting the negative along with everybody else. But there have also been times where I remember what I've learned and I go, you know what? For me, this doesn't have to be hard. This can be easy. I don't know how. A lot of the data, a lot of the facts suggest based on previous, you know what? It's the future, and I don't know. It might be easier. And I've watched myself sometimes, like all of a sudden, and like the whole group will go off and have a hard time, and I will have this easy path that I couldn't
Mm.
predicted. And it's like, oh man, that's one thing I think we get caught up in a lot. Like if I'm in this group thing where everybody's convinced it's hard, or people do this with money a lot too. It's like, oh well, I'm a fill in the blank, and the economy is just really bad for us right now. It's like you can you can step out of that, and you can have like if the economy is crashing in your industry, you can have a profitable year as long as you just allow yourself to be like, you know what, I'm going to use the art of allowing. I'm going to work with law of attraction, and I'm going to trust that like what happens to me, what flows into my life is going to be about my vibration. I'm not going to worry about their vibration. I'm not going to take it on. I'm not going to like try to fight it. I'm just gonna like go in my little zone every day and be like, I think things can be easier. I think things cannot be
So
hard.
good. So good. I love it. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Cool. Great discussion. Stephanie, next week is going to be our last episode of season 6. Can you believe it?
What? Oh
Crazy.
my gosh.
Crazy. Anyway, we are so happy that you joined us today. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much, and we're so grateful to you. We also want to give a special shout out to all the folks that are loyal listeners and viewers and comment on us. Sarah, Kelly, Teresa, Angelica, Jacqueline, we love you. Thank you so much for supporting us and letting us know. We so appreciate you. Remember, we are posting a brand new episode for you at this point, September 2023, every single Monday morning. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us. All our links and email address are in the doodly-doo down in the description of the YouTube version of this episode down below. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode, which will be the last episode of Season 6, Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.